49ers Ultimate Report. This is John Jay, your 49ers reporter, opinionist, analyst, and die-hard fan. And making his long overdue return to the 49ers Ultimate Report is our good friend from Shifty's 49er Talk. How are you doing, Shifty?
Oh, man, I'm good. It's been way too long since we've done a show. I know that you got a busy thing going on with your life. Same over here. We're in different time zones, but man, couldn't be happier to be back. Couldn't be happier. The Niners are in the Super Bowl. Just crazy to think about, and can't wait to get into the show and chat it up. And yeah, it's gonna be awesome, man.
Yeah, 100% true. So if you guys are just tuning into the program and you're seeing the new layout, we got here some cool new graphics. As I mentioned, when the Super Bowl was going to start, win or lose, draw, whatever, there was going to be some new features. And of course, I want to remind everybody, you can still follow me on my first Instagram account. But if you want more content when I am not live, I post daily content on the 49ers Ultimate Report daily, capitalized daily, where you guys can check out some really good videos. I've been posting Super Bowl stuff. You know, I got videos of Brock Purdy, Charvarius Ward, some great views of the Vegas, air and all their cool stuff out there. And of course, great news stories that you guys can check out as well. And of course, right next to me is Shifty, and right there is his logo. And of course, it's Super Bowl talk. So a lot of great things. It's going to be a more professional look, more fun things going on, and many more announcements in the offseason as we continue going on, talking 49ers football. What do you think about the new layout and stuff, Shifty? Because it's been a while.
Dude, I like it. It looks good, man. Really clean, really clear. Looks like really good and professional. Also, that intro is really cool too. I love that intro. Just like the kind of the gold tint to like the video clips, and yeah, that's awesome, man. Really nice job there.
And thank you very much. Yeah, that intro, I was supposed to show it in October, but a lot of copyright stuff, so I had to make sure I didn't use the music and stuff. And great audio, great visual, but it took me a while to redo. It took me an extra 2 months to get it done, but it's finally done. Great stuff as well. And just like we always start this show, how have you been doing, man? Because the last time we spoke was during the draft, and so let the fans know what you've been doing. During your time. I know you still do live content. You do the games. You do other great stuff. You post your reaction. Let the fans know what you've been doing.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I no longer live in the Bay Area. I live in Europe now, in Ireland. But I still do my 49ers thing. As John Jay said, I still do the live, like the play-by-play reactions to the games. I used to do like a preview video before a lot of the games, but I've kind of turned into doing a live show sometime during the week to kind of do a preview, just to kind of get that more interaction with the audience, which is cool, which has been a lot of fun. A lot of times I'll post my reactions to like big plays that happen in games. I think that's a big reason why people tune in, just because I definitely get pretty animated when I watch the games, and I go pretty wild. But yeah, man, it's been like, life's busy, life's great, but busy. But here's the thing: the 49ers are in the Super Bowl. Plenty of content coming out all around YouTube, and a lot of people doing a lot of good things. But yeah, super stoked to be back here with you, John Jay. And the 49ers have just had a crazy season, and we're one of two teams left, and hopefully we'll be the last team standing come Sunday night.
Mm-hmm. So let me shout out everyone in the chat. We got Lore, and we're going to jump into your question very soon, but I just want to shout out everybody. I want to apologize every time you pop in. I can never pronounce your name, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but thanks for popping in. He says Niners. Thank you for popping in. Crazy Jews. Sup, John Jay and Shifty? Yeah, Crazy Jews is the biggest fan of Shifty 49er Talk. He tells me that all the time. He was also converted to a Golden State Warriors fan. So, it's been a while. So he is no longer a Laker fan. He became a Warriors fan, just like us. How are you doing, Crazy Jews? I know he's going to call me a Lakers fan, but he's a good dude. We got Carcast. We all know Carcast. He's the youngster of the Empire. And apparently he's almost at 500 subscribers. So let's get him to 500. He does really good content. He says, yo, how are you guys doing today? And Carcast wants to know, Shifty, what time is it there?
Right now it is 8:49 p.m.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's sometimes why we can't do shows, because, the time differences. I work during the daytime, so by the time I get home, you're probably already sleeping. So that's one of the biggest things, like when you live different, not just different time zones, but different geography. It's a different thing. So
Yes,
before we
yeah.
jump into all the great questions, the 49ers are in the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs as well. But I want to get your summary, your thoughts from week 1 to the final week of the season and during the playoffs as well. What were your expectations? Did the 49ers meet those expectations? And let's talk. And we're going to be also talking about Brock Purdy. But before we talk about Brock Purdy, let's just talk about the 49ers. Shifty, your thoughts of the 2023 49ers season?
It was a season where there was ups, downs, ups again. Just a crazy season. And I think heading into the season, I expected, or I predicted us, whatever, to go 11-6. We ended up going 12-5, so pretty close there. Some of the games that we lost were games that I did not think, like the Minnesota Vikings Monday night game earlier in the year, losing to the Cleveland Browns, and I could have seen us maybe losing to the Bengals. But overall, look, we started out really strong. We had that kind of slip up, from weeks, I think it was week 6 through 8, where we lost 3 in a row. We're 5-3, and we're like, damn, Philadelphia's running away with the NFC. All these other things are happening. But we have the bye week. We come back and we just destroy the Jaguars, the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, the Eagles. We go on a tear. I think what was pretty wild is that, that game was at Christmas Day against the Baltimore Ravens, where they kind of humbled us a little bit. No doubt about that. But we were able to bounce back. The playoffs have been definitely kind of like the season, like how the season was as a whole, where there's up, down, up. The playoffs have been like that too, where we've had some really good things happen in the games against Green Bay and Detroit. We had some really concerning things. There were times where it didn't look good. But ultimately, the 49ers, look, we were able to make enough plays to get where we needed to be. I think overall, look, we have to be happy how the season went. Like, you're the number 1 seed. We're in the Super Bowl. Definitely things to clean up. But look, Brock Purdy broke 49ers passing records. Ayuk had a great year. McCaffrey was unbelievable. The defense had some really great moments. And look, we're in the final game of the season. There are fans of 30 other teams who wish they could be in the position that we are. So I think you have to be happy with how the season went. Never going to be a perfect season, but yeah, I'm super stoked with how the team's looking. So.
Yep, 100%, 100%. We got Forktail Devil in the chat. BBNG or Bang Bang Niner game. Let's go, JJ and Shifty. And Crazy Jew says that translates to basically he says Vasar Vera. So he's gonna get me back for calling him a Warriors fan. All right, buddy. Everyone's saying what's up in the chat. Carcast says appreciate that, John Jay. Of course. We got Peter Miller. Yo, Shifty, go Niners. Yep. Shout out to Peter. Thanks for popping in. First time in my channel. Yep. Yeah. When the season started, I kind of felt that I actually got a few losses correct. I had 4 losses. I said we're going to lose to the Bengals and we're going to lose to the Browns. So a lot of people were like, we're going to beat the Browns. We're going to beat the Browns. But I said I saw that from a mile away. The Browns this year made the playoffs with different quarterbacks, and they still made the playoffs. I knew we were going to lose to the Bengals because the Bengals are a good team. When they're healthy, they're a dangerous team. Joe Burrow is a really good quarterback. They have a really good defense, good coaching staff. Didn't have the best year. Burrow was out for most of the year. They still had a winning record as a 4th-place team. So shows you how good the Bengals are. I kind of felt that there was going to be a trap game with the Commanders. I got that one wrong, so at least the Commanders did not beat us. I did not have us losing to the Ravens or the Vikings. So those were the games that I felt. So I said we're going to go 13-4 because of the immense talent. And Brock Purdy, you know, and I'll ask you this in a minute, but Brock Purdy this year had a really outstanding year. I don't know if you listened to the talking heads on, you know, the major news networks on sports about Brock Purdy, you know, if he's good. Of course, Cam Newton, you know, has been a big talking point this season. But Brock Purdy, compared to Jimmy Garoppolo, and I kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo. A lot of people made fun of me. They say you don't know nothing about, you know, football, John Jay, for liking Jimmy Garoppolo. But at least when Brock Purdy threw the ball, I knew it was going to be hit to Brandon Ayuk in open space down the field. And so I was very comfortable watching Brock Purdy play. So 12-5, you know, I had 13-4, so, you know, one game off. I had the Niners making it to the NFC Championship game against the Philadelphia Eagles because at the time, you know, we didn't know what was going to happen. And the Lions really have a bright future, and the Packers. I think those are the two teams for 2024 and down the road that I think will be the Niners' most dangerous teams. I don't think the Eagles are going to be good. You know, I know there's a little bias. I don't think the Cowboys, even if they win 13, 14 games, will lose in the playoffs. And I found something. The Cowboys are 4-13 since 1995. That's their playoff record. The 49ers, I think, were like 20-11. So better success in the playoffs. So that's just my thoughts on this season. But now I'm going to ask you a question. Our new quarterback, Brock Purdy. Your thoughts? What do you think about his criticisms? Just your thoughts in general of Brock Purdy.
Look, I think he's been really, really good. It's one of those things where I think that in some ways people forget that he had a really bad injury last year's NFC Championship game against the Eagles. Like he had like whatever like reconstructive like surgery. And for him to come out and from the get-go just like play really good football. We saw him, you know, week 1 at Pittsburgh, like throwing touchdowns to Brandon Ayuk, making plays with his legs. But I think coming back from that injury is just a huge testament to the work that he put in and the faith that guys like Kyle Shanahan had in Brock Purdy. Now, heading into the year, not to bring up a whole thing, but like my guess, let's say if you asked me, maybe when we were talking last time around the draft, I would have thought maybe Trey Lance would have started the first 5 or 6 games. Maybe you put Brock Purdy to start the year on injured reserve, and then he comes in when he's fully healthy. But look, it worked out. Brock Purdy looked really, really good from the get-go. Couple of games that definitely got away from him. Look, the Ravens game, I think that was a combination of him. I think initially maybe a little bit being like a little bit overconfident with how the game started. Then he throws the interceptions. Then you have some bad luck where balls get tipped up and it gets intercepted. Easily his worst game of the year, Baltimore. Some of the games he struggled in a little bit. You look at the game against Minnesota, and I think what played a big part of that was he got a kind of knock on the head, which wasn't called. And then after that, he kind of struggled down the rest of that game. But overall, look, he broke the record for passing yards in a season by a 49ers quarterback in 16 games because he didn't play week 17. You look at and I know this is a bit unfair, but if you take out that Baltimore game, I mean, just his stats on the year were just insane. And every quarterback has at least 1 or 2 bad games throughout the course of a season. But I think he was so impressive. And what really impressed me was, and the big criticism I think for Brock Purdy was, well, and this was also a criticism of Kyle Shanahan, was can he come from behind? Can you come from behind and win? And he's done that in back-to-back games in the playoffs with some big-time drives and big-time throws as well. You could say maybe a little bit lucky on that deep pass against Detroit that Ayuk managed to catch where it went off the defender. But I think Purdy's been really good. And I think you make a great point too, where we're like with Jimmy Garoppolo, I think you knew with Jimmy, there was going to be 2 or 3 passes in every game that were just awful. He was always going to throw 2 or 3 really bad passes every single game. And you just hope those passes don't like kill you. Like, as you said, he would miss Brandon Ayuk wide open. He would miss Juszczyk wide open. I have way more confidence in a guy like Brock Purdy. But something that's been great to see, and we saw it against Detroit, was the plays that he could make with his legs too. Some of the biggest plays in that NFC Championship game were what he did running the football. And that really gives Kansas City another thing to have to think about where, on big plays, if it's going to be, let's say, 3rd and short in the Super Bowl, they kind of have to account for Brock Purdy being able to make a play with his legs. And not only that, but also Brock Purdy, something that he's just so good at is, when you look at him in the pocket and for the most part, like being able to sense where the pressure is coming from, to be able to escape that and then just make a play out of nowhere. Like we look at that game again in the NFC Championship game against the Lions where they bring the blitz, Purdy avoids the sack, somehow kind of rolls out to his left and throws it to Juszczyk 10 yards down the field. Like that should be a 2nd and 16, whereas he turns it into like a 1st down play, which is just incredible. And not many guys can do that. So I think he's just been so good for us in his first full season as a starter. And think about it, like come next off season, he'll actually have a full off season to, be the number 1 guy in training camp, in OTAs and all of that good stuff. So, and this year he didn't have that. Like he was hurt for a lot of it. So I think he's only going to get better. And I just really like watching him play. I like that he's not afraid to throw passes. Sometimes, it can get him in a little bit of trouble, but I can't say enough good things about Brock Purdy. And I know what you're saying that Cam Newton and all these guys are talking. It's Brock Purdy. Look, he doesn't have like the biggest arm. He's not going to throw it like 70 yards like a Josh Allen, or he's not going to make some crazy plays sometimes like Mahomes can, or he's not as fast as Lamar Jackson. But as a quarterback overall, he is really, really good and someone that I have a lot of confidence in.
Yep, 100%. And, one thing that I will address, with Brock Purdy, and, I want to bring up a name that, the chat's not going to like, but I have to bring up this name because what I do, I have to talk about it. And Nick Wright, basically, has his, his goalposts, like, he moves and moves and moves this. And every time he admits Brock Purdy does something, he puts the word "but." And at the end of the day, we need critics, because if Brock Purdy in the next couple of years, and again, I don't know if this is going to happen because it hasn't happened yet, but what if Brock Purdy does surpass Patrick Mahomes in stats, in play-wise, and in Super Bowls? Is he still going to be criticizing him? I don't know, but there's a reason why Brock Purdy has stayed humble during this journey. And compared to Jimmy would say, this is what Jimmy would say: we, the team, failed. We, the team, failed. We, the team, failed. Brock Purdy would say that I have to play better. When he lost to the Ravens, he says, I need to look at myself and myself alone to see where my mental, brain is after a game like this. Learn from it, forget about it, and play next week against the Commanders. That says a lot about a quarterback when a quarterback says, I was the reason why we lost. It wasn't because our running back played horrible. It wasn't because our receivers or offensive line. It was because of me. And that is what I like about Brock Purdy. Of course, he broke the passing record, which has been around for like almost 2 decades or close to 2 decades. He was the first 30 touchdown passer this season. You can say, oh, he had this guy. Throwing 30 touchdowns in the NFL is not easy. I'm sorry. I think there was only like 5 players this year that had 5 quarterbacks that threw 30 touchdowns. So I don't know. Patrick Mahomes had 27 touchdowns, and he's supposed to be the best quarterback. So at the end of the day, it's not easy throwing 30 touchdowns. And when it comes to the criticism, I want the criticism because again, I've made a promise. I've made a promise so many times. If Brock Purdy, after Sunday, is lifting up that Lombardi trophy with his team, not just Brock Purdy, but his team, I'm going to be at hopefully Market Street in San Francisco, and I'm going to have a bunch of faithful letting the faithful know on my live stream to all the haters, we did it. So I am so proud of what Brock Purdy has done, and he's only going to get better next year. This was sort of his rookie year, and he checked all the boxes.
I couldn't agree more with you, man. And yeah, you have all these people who are going to, Nick Wright or Nick Wrong, as I think a lot of people like to call him. And all. I think the big thing, and do you know the announcer Charles Davis? I think he announces maybe for CBS. He does some of the CBS games, but he made a really good point. I think when it comes to Brock Purdy, is that it's something that kind of stuck with me, and I think it was earlier this year, is the fact that people don't want to give Brock Purdy credit, even the credit that he deserves, because it kind of makes all of these analysts and pundits, it makes all of them look kind of bad. The fact that he was the Mr. Irrelevant pick. There was 261 guys drafted before Brock Purdy. So all these guys who are, they talk about the draft and who should be a pick. The fact that he is a 7th rounder, that he's coming in and just dominating in a lot of the time, that everyone kind of else got it wrong. And look, the Niners, we got it right in the fact that we drafted him, but we also got it wrong too. If we knew he was going to be this good, we would have drafted him with the 1st round pick or 2nd round pick. But overall, I think it takes, when you're that drafted that low, and it's just the nature of the beast, when you're drafted in the 7th round, that you are going to have those people who are just not going to believe in you. I mean, I think back to a little bit. I mean, you even talk about Tom Brady, being a 6th round pick. It took him a number of years before people actually gave him credit. When it came to even after winning Super Bowls, they would say, oh, it was the defense. Oh, it was the coaching. Oh, it was this. And until he actually won, then a number of times, then they were like, okay, Tom Brady, you're actually really good. So I think it's going to be a similar case with Brock Purdy, that he's going to have to win. And he's going to have to win the big games, like this Sunday that we're going to see. If he can do it, that's going to silence a lot of doubters, because there's not that many quarterbacks who've won Super Bowls, and there are plenty of really good quarterbacks who've never won a Super Bowl. So it is what it is. I like to think that maybe Brock Purdy will use that criticism and kind of fuel his fire to be like, I'm going to show you guys, maybe like a chip on his shoulder, and just to show just how good he really is. And that comment that Jed York made recently, where he was like, in 2022, in his rookie year, Shanahan's kind of going to him and being like, we think Brock Purdy's our best guy, and that was with, Trey Lance kind of being anointed the guy. We traded a whole bunch of picks for him. That was with Jimmy Garoppolo still on the roster. And Shanahan's there saying like, our 7th round rookie is the best quarterback on the roster. I'm a big fan of Brock Purdy.
Yeah. Let me say hello to Daniel Berry Sports. He's in the building. Thanks for popping in. We got Mr. YTC, our resident New York Giants fan. Long time no see, buddy. And he wants to say best of luck in Super Bowl. Do it for Corey. And just like YTC was a good friend of Corey Davis. For those who didn't know Corey Davis, all you got to do is just go to my 49ers YouTube channel, click on the Corey Davis. What a great man he was. He had, and I'm going to tell a little story about Corey, then we'll get back to football. But, we always have to talk about Corey. Corey Davis moment of the show. He had his bed, 49ers bed, 49ers blanket, 49ers hoodie, 49ers, pants, 49ers shoes. One thing that Corey said, that he wanted a 49ers bicycle, because Corey Davis' favorite thing to do that was not watching football was ride his bicycle. So shout out to Corey Davis. We got Steve-O in the chat. He says bang, bang. And we got some questions that, we're going to get to very quickly. Crazy Juice wants to call Nick Wright Toucan Sam. If you don't know the joke, probably you're a little bit too young to understand that. But let's go to some questions, and I'm going to get Laura's question. He dropped it in the first moment of the show. What are you? I think he said your matchups that you like and don't like.
Ooh, that's a good one. Here's a matchup that I really do like, and I think that the 49ers need to lean on, is going to be our cornerbacks, Charvarius Mooney-Ward and Deommodore Lenoir. They've been playing really well the last couple of games. Like, if you look at the stats, what they've given up, it's pretty much nothing in terms of what they've allowed pass in the passing game. So the matchups I like are our cornerbacks up against their wide receivers. Their receivers, Rashee Rice, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. They have Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore. And then there's, what's his name, Watson, I think. But I like Lenore and Ward to really step up. And I think that we're going to use that to our strength and basically tell them to just man up on the outside, down some of those receivers. Now, that's a matchup that I really do like. A matchup that I'm not crazy about. There's a couple of them, but I think that when you look at, let's say, their defense, I think Chris Jones is a guy who's just a game wrecker. So they're going to test our offensive line big time. I think the two guys they're really going to test are going to be Jake Brendel at center and then Colton McKivitz at right tackle. I think you're going to see Chris Jones line up all over the defensive line, and they're going to test it. They're going to be like, Jake Brendel needs to have his best game of the year. Colton McKivitz needs to have a very, very good game as well. But that's a matchup that I'm not a huge fan of. Is just like, how do you stop Chris Jones? Like, he's an absolute game wrecker. In my opinion, he's right there with the likes of like an Aaron Donald. So it's something that we have to absolutely keep an eye on all game long. But yeah, those are kind of the one matchup that I think kind of stands out as a matchup that I like, and a matchup that I don't like. I think, when it comes to the 49ers offense, their cornerbacks and their defense, this Kansas City defense is for real. We can't overlook it. It seems like this matchup is almost reversed how both of these teams normally are. I felt like for years it was always 49ers have a great defense and we have a good run game, and our passing game is so-so. Whereas nowadays, I think the Niners, being a Niner fan here, and you might agree with me, John, is that to me the offense is a little bit better than our defense. And with the Chiefs, it's flipped. The Chiefs have a really great defense. Their offense has only been okay, which is a weird thing to say when you have Patrick Mahomes. So, it's going to be, there's a lot of different matchups to look at, but those are the two ones that kind of stick out to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me say what's up to our resident Eagles fan. His name is Spongy. I consider close game rivalries. Nice. All right. Before we read the next question, next comment, I'm going to say this. My favorite matchup that I really like is how their run game versus our run game. So their run defense. Apparently, last night, if you guys missed it, I had 3 Kansas City super fans, KC Sports Authority. They also cover baseball, basketball, football, college sports. They do it all. Good guys. So I want to see if they can actually stop Christian McCaffrey. So that's one matchup that doesn't matter how good you are. McCaffrey finds ways to expose you. Of course, he's not going to get every time he gets the ball 80-yard runs, But as long as he's moving the change and that's all he's doing, that's all that matters. One matchup that I am not thrilled is, can we tackle? Because one thing that I have noticed is that we do not tackle. So that's one thing that I worry about. That's just me. Now we're going to go to Forktail Devil, his comment. My main concern is Kansas City selling out to stop the run, because I feel they have the corner guys to pull it off possibly, but it's not. I think we can handle it. What do you guys think? So I think he's asking that they're going to sell the run, and I think their corners, their coverage can cover those issues. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think Forktail, good question. Like in the comments too. I think that actually what you've said is, I don't think you're wrong. I also think that's something that the 49ers could really do well, is manning up with Mooney Ward and Lenore on the outside and kind of selling out to stop Isaiah Pacheco and to force them into bad situations. Now, here's the great thing with what the 49ers can do to, I think, counter that. Well, our run game is really expansive. We can run the ball, whether it's outside zone, we can do tough running up the middle, we can do end arounds with Debo. But the big thing, which I really like, is that, when you look at the personnel that the 49ers can come out with, let's just say if you have McCaffrey, Juszczyk, Kittle, Debo, and Ayuk, who are all Pro Bowl, all pro caliber guys. If you see that, you might think, oh, that's probably going to be I formation, maybe outside zone or run up the middle. But then we can come out and you could have, 4 wide receivers and maybe Debo's in the backfield, and who knows what you can come out with. So I think the 49ers are going to throw a lot of different looks at Kansas City. We can run the ball, whether it's out of the shotgun, whether it's behind center. And they just don't really know where it's going to be coming from. But it is, yeah, I'm seeing that comment by Philly, and it's like the Chiefs beat them in the Super Bowl last year. Why would he be going for them? But anyway, it's one of those things where the Niners can, they can have a play that like the formation and everything looks the same, but like something completely different actually comes once the play starts. So yeah, if the Chiefs, and here's the thing, if the Chiefs want to sell out to stop the run, that's fine. I think that, look, that's when I think that we can throw on them a little bit. Now, look, throwing against McDuffie is never that easy. He's a really good cornerback. They have some really good players, L'Jarius Sneed. But we have really good players, offensive players too. We have Debo, we have Ayuk. Jawan Jennings, I think, could have a really big game too on third down. George Kittle, McCaffrey. And that's the thing. I think McCaffrey, let's say if we come out and Juszczyk and McCaffrey are in the backfield, and if you see they're selling out to stop the run, bam, you change up the play call and everyone spreads out wide and all these guys can run routes and they can get open. Then the Chiefs are like, oh, damn, we thought this was going to be a run and now we got to try and slow it. Like, now what? So, look, you have 2 weeks to prepare. They're going to be looking to, take advantage of any weaknesses in the Kansas City defense. The one thing is, look, Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator there, he loves to blitz. And Brock Purdy is really good against the blitz. He's able to find receivers quickly. But yeah, I think they're probably going to, maybe they'll sell it to stop the run, but I don't know how much success they're going to have just because of all the different things we can do offensively.
All right, let me get all the comments out the way. Forktail had some great comments. I'm going to read them all. Only quarterback who can actually carry their teams are Mahomes and Purdy. That's why they're both in the Super Bowl. He also says, yes, John Jay, being accountable is huge in the locker room. Facts. And Brock Purdy, after that loss, said something that, like, I've had a lot of bad – I used to be an athlete, so I used to have a lot of bad games. And it's changed. When I had a bad game, I would go back. I played baseball. I would go back in the batting cage and fix my swing, fix everything, all that stuff. So Brock Purdy probably after that, just try to get his mind back and work hard. And the following couple of weeks, he's been performing really well. So I really agree with that. He also said 100% Shifty. None of the experts and pundits even mentioned Purdy at all. So they're hoping to see him fail. That's another great thing. All right, we got this is a difficult name to pronounce. Welcome to the era of Mahomes. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for clicking on the video. I have to address little Spongy. This is disrespectful. And I want to point something out, little Spongy. I know you're the Eagles fan, but all off season, Debo said that your secondary is not good. I'm not going to use the words that he actually used. And when he played, didn't he expose your secondary? So for you to say Debo is not a good player, I take that as an offense. So I don't know why you would say that. Forktail says, good points. I agree. All right. Carcat says, all right, Spongy, aren't you an Eagles fan on the couch? And Spongy, they're going back and forth in the chat, so I'll let them have their conversation. Look at the quarterback the Chiefs have gone against versus the Niners. Okay, thank you for your comments. I don't know what. Again, I don't watch a lot of Chiefs game. I know they beat Lamar Jackson. I don't know who the Chiefs played. They played Josh Allen with the Bill, and they played Tua. But at the end of the day, is what it is. The Super Bowls is a different game. All right, we got Smiley Dan. Shout out to the Plusers. For those who don't know what that is, shout out to Damon Bruce. Damon Bruce, he's a friend of the program. I consider him a friend. He lets me call in on Fridays. But I see you in the comments, Smiley Dan. Thanks for popping in. How are you doing, Smiley Dan? Thanks for checking out my channel. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. Hey guys, love the positive energy. I am usually a cautious optimist fan, but dang, sometimes I look at this matchup and feel that the 49ers might be ready to roll. Go Nine. Thanks for popping in, buddy. Thanks for popping in. Really appreciate it. And Smiley Dan, if you don't know, his logo's right there. My boy Shifty, Talks 49ers football. Check out his content right there. There's the logo, Shifty 49er Talk. And thanks for popping in. Mahomes and Reed with 2 weeks. It doesn't matter. Defense will expose you. So I'm gonna assume this is a Chiefs fan. We'll find out. We'll find out if everything you're saying is true. But at the end of the day, you can talk all you want. I don't talk back to other fan bases. I wait till the game is over. And if my team wins, then I'll be like, all right, now I get to talk a little bit of smack. I try to keep it as respectful to everybody. Anything can happen, but hopefully you are right, sir, because if you're wrong, sir, that's not going to look good for you. Carcass says Debo would put your marshmallows off. Wow, Carcass, let's keep it respectable. Smiley Dad says doing good, loving this talk. Thank you very much, buddy, for popping in. Thank you very much for popping in. All right, so now let's talk about the Super Bowl. So, Shifty, I don't know how long you've been a 49ers fan. I've been a 49er fan since I can remember. I don't know the exact day I became, but it was a long, long time ago. I know I was a child, but it's been a long time. I want to talk about the last 13 seasons. 2011, 2012, 2013 were good years for the 49ers. You know, we made it to 3 consecutive NFC championship games. We lost 2 of them. We won 1 of them, lost in the Super Bowl. Then we had another little short era where we were so bad. We were so bad. Kyle comes in here. 2019, we win the NFC championship game. Unfortunately, we played the same team. We lost to them. And all the bad luck that happened, 2021, 2022. And now we have won another NFC championship. Shifty, I want to know your thoughts. How confident are you looking back at our history, how close we've been? And I know Kyle and Harbaugh are 2 different coaches. They ran 2 different systems. It was 2 different eras. But what are your thoughts on our recent failures? And do you think that the 49ers this time are going to finally do it? Or are you going to stay cautious until the final whistle of the game on Sunday?
I'm definitely going to stay cautious until the final whistle. There's no doubt about that. After getting my hopes up in 2019 when we were up by 10 and there were 7 minutes to go and I was getting ready to pop the champagne back in 2019, I learned my lesson big time. So excuse me. But look, we've had some bad luck. You think back to from the start of the Jim Harbaugh era to now. You look back at the NFC Championship game against the Giants where Kyle Williams is fumbling the ball left, right, and center. You look back at 2013 when we lost to the Seahawks, the NFC Championship game. That throw that Kaepernick made to Crabtree still lives in my mind. The Super Bowl against the Ravens, we had 1st and goal and we don't even run the ball once with Frank Gore. That blows my mind. Then you think back to the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan and last season, 2022 season, Brock Purdy gets hurt in the NFC Championship game. The year before, Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't play great in the NFC Championship game. Plus, you look at the fact that Tart drops an interception. Look, here's the thing: a lot of these guys, they've been through this before. They've played in big games. George Kittle, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, all these guys have played on the biggest stage, and I think they know what's at stake here. So it's a little bit different compared to 2019 when we were in the Super Bowl. That was Kyle Shanahan's first Super Bowl as a head coach. He looks a lot more relaxed this time around, and he'll kind of know what maybe what worked before in preparation for the Super Bowl 4 years ago, and maybe what didn't work and what we can improve on this time around. It's going to be a tough game. It's really hard to gauge because this season the defense is going to be what really is going to be the gauge, I think, for this game. Just because we've seen the defense under Steve Wilkes, we've seen it play really well. We've also seen it get torn to shreds, like the first half against the Lions. So I think that the Niners defense is really going to set the tone. If they can come out, maybe force a couple of 3-and-outs or force a couple of possessions where the Chiefs have to punt the ball, that's going to make me feel a lot better. I think the defense is just so up and down, even within the game. Like you look at, again, the first half against the Lions, a complete mess. We made some adjustments. We went to a lot more man defense, and we played a lot better. Even throughout the course of the year, we've been able to do that. And that's something that I will have to give a lot of credit to Steve Wilkes, is that his halftime adjustments do work really well for the most part. Now, it's just, again, it's really tough to say because I have a good amount of confidence in the offense. And the big difference here is that we have Brock Purdy compared to 2019 when it was Jimmy Garoppolo. I always kind of held my breath a little bit whenever Jimmy would go to throw the football, even though he had a good 2019 season for the most part. But yeah, I'm feeling a lot more confident in the offense. It's just going to be, how does the defense come out? I think there's a couple of different things that we can do defensively to change it up to maybe make things a little bit more difficult for Kansas City. But look, and I know he's a fan of the Chiefs, but there's like STL Shocks in the chat. You're going up against Andy Reid, you're going up against Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and it's not going to be an easy thing to stop. Of course, you're never going to shut them out, but some of the things that if you can slow them down, limit what they can do. Look, the Chiefs, and people talk about the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, they didn't score a single point in the second half. Baltimore had kind of figured them out. So I'm sure that we're going to take a couple of things that Baltimore did in that game and try and implement them in the Super Bowl. But yeah, it's a tough game to gauge because I with the Niners, it's so dependent on how the defense plays. And I don't have as much confidence in, I don't want to say I lack confidence in the defense, but if they can come out and if they can play like they need to with guys like Bosa and Hargrave and Armstead and Warner and Greenlaw and Mooney, like there's so many great players. Sometimes it doesn't make sense why we don't play better defensively, but I think that's going to be the big thing in this game is how does the defense come out and play.
We got Vin Nguyen in the house. He said, "Howdy, hot foul in the house. What's up, buddy?" He also says 2 guys on Kelce at all times will take out the Chiefs 50% of their offense. Facts. Forktail Devil says Tua is mid. Talk about weapons all around them, and that's true. That is true. Shout out to the Steelers fan. My boy Chad is in the house. What's up, Chad? Been following me for quite some time. What's up, John J. Shifty? I hope you Niners beat the Chiefs. I don't care if they are tied with the Steelers. Oh, yeah, because if the 49ers win, if the 49ers do win, we will be tied with the Steelers. We'll have the exact identical Super Bowl record. They're 6-2. Currently, the Niners are 5-2. If we win, we'll be exactly tied with the Steelers. We got David Corona in the house. What's up, buddy? He says, "What's up, everybody? I'm doing really well, buddy." Everyone's saying what's up in the chat. Crazy Juice says Hargrave also played in the big stage, but with a different team who had a down year this season. Yeah, Hargrave is another player. He wants that Lombardi. There's a lot of players from the 2019 team that have matured, got older. We did not have Ayuk. Ayuk is a 4-year pro now. We did not have McCaffrey. He was with the Carolina Panthers. And we upgraded at quarterback. Nick Bosa was a rookie. A lot of people forget that. Dre Greenlaw was a rookie. People forget that. Fred Warner was entering his second season, but he was a first-year full-time starter in 2019. And, of course, we have Hargrave. Oh, yeah, guess we also had who was on the other team, Charvarius Ward, who's like, I'm not going to let the Chiefs get another Super Bowl. I want to get another Super Bowl. So there are a lot of players on this team. Kyle Shanahan also wants to get his redemption because he's had some very bad moments in the playoffs. Rick Diaz says, oh, yeah, my friends, we got a good offensive line. Facts. Everyone's saying, what's up? Corona wants to say, how you doing, Shifty?
What's up, David?
And Rick Diaz says, I think the defense is going to come out smoking out the Niners. I think they're going to come out smoking. Facts. Rick Diaz has a lot of great questions. Check this, my friends, and think about what's gonna say. Maybe I'm wrong, but the biggest they are, the harder they fall. And then he also says, we are the San Francisco 49ers. We're not Baltimore, Cleveland, the Giants, Dallas. That's true. And, of course, Kansas City forgot that we had the 49ers go Niners. Facts. Forktail says, how you guys think Niners try to keep Jones in check? So that's a really good comment. let's talk about Jones. Chris Jones. He's going to be going up against our interior. I talked about it last night with the Kansas City Chiefs, and they asked me this question: how comfortable am I with the middle of the line against Chris Jones? So, what are your thoughts on Chris Jones? Should we be worried?
Oh, we should definitely be worried. There's no doubt about that. When the earlier question I think that Laura asked was, the matchups that I do and don't like. Yeah, it's a tough matchup. I mean, yeah, again, Chris Jones, I think he's right there with an Aaron Donald for a guy on the interior who can just completely disrupt games. Some of the things that I think the 49ers can do to maybe limit Chris Jones as much as you can limit Chris Jones is something that the Chiefs struggle with. I saw some advanced stats where they kind of struggle with the outside zone. So if we're actually able to run the ball effectively with that outside zone where Chris Jones is having to run, sideline to sideline in essence, that's really going to tire him out. Look, and I think we have to run the ball effectively. We have to run the ball consistently. We have to run the ball a lot. There's going to be plenty of runs that are maybe going to go for 2 yards, maybe going to only go for 1 or 2 yards, but you have to keep doing it. I saw Vin says, keep pounding the ball on the ground. I completely agree. Whether it's with McCaffrey, something that I also think we could maybe see a little bit more of. Look, this is Super Bowl, so it's the last game all on the line, but maybe we see a little bit more of Elijah Mitchell. I wish we'd saw throughout the season more Jordan Mason, but these are guys who they're capable of, when they get tackled, they always kind of fall forward. So maybe you think it's going to be a pickup of 2, but it ends up being a pickup of 4, and that puts things in a much better situation. So, I think the idea for Chris Jones, if you can run the ball, then he's not going to be able to have his pass rushing moves where he can get sacks or forcing completions. And also, if you can run the outside zone effectively, it's going to force him to have to just run all across the field trying to make tackles, and that's going to tire him out. Look, I think he's going to make some plays. There's no doubt about that, but there are ways around that, whether it is, the outside zone, or maybe it's, those quick passes we hit to Deebo Samuel where you're forcing him to just have to go and run around all the time, where sometimes if you just run up the middle, and we will do it sometimes, but that kind of plays right into his hands. And there's running the ball is going to be the key right there to stop Chris Jones. And it's just it's easier said than done. I do think the Chiefs are probably going to sell out to stop the run, as a lot of teams try and do. But luckily, there's a lot of different ways that we can counter that. And a big thing too is, like, when we look back at something that I think kind of gets a little bit forgotten about is the 49ers offensive line. I think this year is a lot better than what we had 4 years ago against the Chiefs. I love me some Joe Staley, one of my favorite 49ers, but I think Trent Williams is a better player than Joe Staley was, even though at this point they're both 4 years ago. Staley, I think, was in his last year, if I'm not mistaken, before he retired. I think Trent Williams is a better player. Laken Tomlinson, I mean, what has he done with the Jets? Not really much of anything. He was our left guard, and we have Aaron Banks. I think Banks is better than Tomlinson. In the Super Bowl, we had Ben Garland. Ben Garland was our center. This time around, we have Jake Brendel. And I'm not saying Brendel's a Pro Bowler, but he's better than Garland. At right guard in the Super Bowl, it was Mike Person. At right tackle, Mike McGlinchey. And now we have John Feliciano and Colton McKivitz. I think all around, this offensive line's a lot better. So hopefully that also can help limit Chris Jones too.
Yeah. I talked about it last night. If you guys want to, just basically, well, what I said was when it comes to the middle of the line, Chris Jones is a really good player. We do go against Aaron Donald, but Chris Jones is not Aaron Donald. Very different players. But the middle of the line has done really well. And I've always criticized Jake Brendel, but this year he's had a way good season. And our 2 young guys, Banks and Burford, they're really good for young guys. So it's going to be a really good matchup. And, should we be worried about? Of course, be worried about every aspect of the game. Smiley Dan says, I agree with Shifty that the tackling is a concern, especially if the linebackers are over concerned with Kelsey. Pacheco may have lanes up the middle. Yeah, he's a really good player. One thing that I really do not like of Pacheco is I keep thinking he's a wide receiver because he wears number 10. It's just so weird. Rick says, see the Niners, the whole entire team, they're going to stay focused all the way, protect the ball enough opportunities, lets us control the line of scrimmage. All right, we got to talk about this. I asked my co-host last night, but we do have to talk about this. This is something very interesting. I am not a Taylor Swift fan, and I know there are some Swifties who are probably going to get mad at me if they watch this show. Again, I don't hate the Taylor Swift. I don't hate her. Her music is not for me. It had the message doesn't speak to me. For those who listen to music, probably we all have our favorite music. It probably is not for everybody, but every music speaks to everybody. And I love variety of music. If it's good music, I'm going to listen. I'm going to download it to my MP3 player, iPod, whatever, and listen to good music, or my smartphone. But I just don't understand why she is a big polarizing image. And I asked my co-host, they like her. Apparently, she gives back to the community. I did not know that when the Chiefs are not playing, she goes to communities, donates her money, donates her time. But besides all of that, what are your thoughts of Taylor Swift? Will she overshadow the Super Bowl?
I don't think so. I don't think she's going to overshadow the Super Bowl. And, you know, to me, like the big thing when it comes to, and I know that she gets a lot of flack from like football fans about, oh, they're showing Taylor Swift too much and all that. But, you know, there is a case where if you can bring in a lot of new fans to watch the game, I think that's a good thing. For her music, I think I wouldn't be a huge fan of her music personally, but of course, look, it struck. You see the tour that she's been on, and she's had probably millions of people go see her live. So there's a lot of people who really enjoy it, and it is one of those things where she's apparently like a really good person. Where like I think it was during her tour I read about like some of the people who like the truckers who will bring like the stage equipment and everything from show to show, that she's paying them, like she's giving them like really big bonuses and all that really good stuff. And she really gives a lot back to the community, which I think is great. I think the bigger issue when it comes to with Taylor Swift, it's like another thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think the bigger, like a huge thing is you see it where it's like on commercials. You see Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid on State Farm. You see Travis Kelce was with like the Pfizer, like you just see these guys everywhere. And then this is just like another thing where you're kind of just, it's oversaturated with Kansas City Chiefs players. Like we see enough of it already. I think a lot of people are a little bit tired of it. When it comes to commercials, maybe we'd like to see some other players outside of Mahomes and Kelce, and now it's Kelce and Taylor Swift. And so I don't think a lot of people actually dislike her by any means. I think it's more a case of like people are just a little bit tired of the Kansas City Chiefs, just because we see them everywhere. But look, she gives a lot back to the community. I think she's helped bring in a lot of people probably who would never watch NFL games, that maybe they're watching. Maybe you get a lot more fans. I don't think that I think at first they showed her a lot. And when Kelce scores a touchdown, they kind of cut away and see her reaction, which is fine. They used to do that with, what was it, Jessica Simpson when she was dating Tony Romo. It is one of those things. But at the end of the day, it's a case where I think she's a good person. I think some people who have an issue with it, and I think it's more a case of just people are just tired of the Chiefs being everywhere on TV. So.
All right, let me go catch up with the comments. We got more comments in the chat. California Love Niners. That's a very interesting name. Nice picture. I like her music at times, but I am every time with everyone making it about her. All right. VN says, I still think the O-line is a weak link this year. John needs to, and that's going to be a big priority. We'll talk about that in the offseason. She gives a lot. She gives money, good money, as bonuses to employees. I've heard that before, so good for her. Michael, we got Michael Chen in the building. The unfair thing is she's not the one asking for the attention. Yeah, unfortunately, there was someone who said over under 10.5 times they show her face. And people were making bets. Kind of weird. But at the end of the day, I think she can watch the game if she wants. If she understands it, she doesn't. If she's just supporting, Travis Kelce, good for her. But at the end of the day, uh, Roger Goodell was like, I don't know if it was yesterday or Monday, where he was asked your thoughts of the Taylor Swift thing, and he said, we're seeing more audience, more eyes on NFL. So for him, he sees the dollar signs. And I don't want to kind of sound kind of messed up to Roger Goodell, but he's like, hey, what brings more money to the NFL? That's all I care about. So for Roger Goodell, he likes it. For everybody else, people have mixed opinions. All right, we got Morris in the chat. How are you doing? First time in my chat. I think the Niners will have a breakout game. They're due for it, and I think we'll start fast like we used to. Cool. All right, let's go through some of the stuff quickly. Everyone's leaving some good stuff, but I saved the question that I'm going to bring back up. We have a lot of comments. Let me find it first. Forktail Devil a few moments ago left this comment for us. Can Kansas City match up with CMC in the pass game? Question, is that a matchup the Niners can exploit? And before I give you the floor, Shifty, I said this earlier. One of my favorite matchups was, can the run game stop Christian McCaffrey? But can they also stop him as a receiver? That's a really good question. What are your thoughts?
Look, yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs linebackers, they're going to have their work cut out for them, just because not only do you have CMC, but you have George Kittle, and let's not forget Kyle Juszczyk. A lot of times he can make a big play or two when it comes to the big games and the big moments, and we have a lot of trust in Juszczyk. But when it comes to McCaffrey, he's a phenomenal route runner. He can do so many different things so well. So I think that we're of course going to try and exploit that, and that's where I think where these formations, when you look at the personnel packages, can be so unique. Where let's say if they see us huddle up and we have McCaffrey, Juszczyk, Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle, and all of a sudden maybe McCaffrey splits out wide and you have Debo in the backfield, and now it's like, well, do they want to have their cornerback on Debo, or do they want to have the linebacker try and there's so many different things that we can do, and of course a lot of teams game plan around Christian McCaffrey. So even if he's used as a bit of a decoy when it comes to the passing game, if they're going to put a lot of attention his way, that'll free things up elsewhere for the other 49er playmakers. So you're going to see, I think, McCaffrey lined up everywhere, but it's a massive thing where Kansas City, I believe, are going to have to put a lot of resources in to try and stop McCaffrey. Now, I know they have some good linebackers. I know one of the guys was injured, I believe, for the AFC Championship game. He might be back against, I think he might be back in this for the Super Bowl, but McCaffrey's a guy that every defense has to account for, because he's a guy who can take over games, whether it's in the passing game, whether it's running the football. And something that surprised me this year was I didn't realize McCaffrey is such a tough runner. Like, I knew that he was a great running back, and even his first year, with San Francisco, but he's not afraid to really get physical and churn out and fight for the extra yard or two, which is, something that I didn't necessarily expect from him. But we're going to do whatever we can. I think McCaffrey is going to be a big part of the game plan, and it's going to force Kansas City to have to do a lot of different things to slow him down.
All right. Cool. We got a lot of comments in the chat, and I really want to go through them all of them, but we've been out for an hour. Shifty, I know it's getting very late out there for you, so I don't want to keep you up all night. I also have to do some stuff in my personal life. And this was really great talking to you, buddy. I really appreciate you hopping on. Shout out to everyone in the chat. We have 13 people watching. I want to thank the 12 likes that we got in the chat. Let me double check if it's exactly 12. Yeah, 12 likes. So I appreciate everyone in the chat. Thanks for all your questions and comments. And for those who do not know you, those who don't know you, let the fans know who you are, where they can find you, all your social media platforms, so they can watch your content. And don't you have something this week that you would like to announce to the fans?
So Shifty's 49ers Talk. If you search for me on YouTube, I also have an Instagram page and a Twitter X account. But yeah, on YouTube, I'm going to be doing I do a lot of different things. A lot of it's like the play-by-play is probably what I'm best known for. when the game is on. I will be streaming that game. I'll be doing the play-by-play for the Super Bowl. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. And then I also post things like I really get into the draft once it's draft season. It's great for the 49ers. We don't have to think about that just yet. But and I'll be doing a show probably tomorrow night, my time, kind of previewing the game as well, and get some interactions going with the fans too. But yeah, a lot of really good things coming on Shifty's 49ers talk, and it's always a really fun time watching the games. There's a really great community that come by, so definitely check it out. Haven't been able to do as much content as I would have liked, but still, we're doing our thing. I'll be doing a show tomorrow, and yeah, it's just it's really awesome. It's a great time, and hopefully you guys can come check it out if you haven't already. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate having you on, man. I know it's been almost a year, man, that we've done a show. It's been a very long time, because of my work, your time zone. We can never find a good time to do shows as well. And so it's really cool to have you on, man, whenever I can have you on. Hopefully in the off season, we can work something out, like maybe on a monthly basis. Well, I'll reach out to you as well. Of course, before we go, big things I need to remind everybody. You can also follow me, 49ers Ultimate Report, on Instagram. If you guys have not followed me yet, that is my main Instagram. It's mostly about my journey. I document what I do on that Instagram. And, of course, my new one that I just had. I think I created this in January. 49ers Ultimate Report Daily. If you want more content when I am not on, I don't do daily content as I used to. As the off season happens, I'm going to slow down on my content. But 49ers Ultimate Report Daily will have daily videos, news stories, updates, great types of graphics, great info, stats about the 49ers during the off season. So it's been a really great journey. Of course, the new layouts, the new great stuff, and a lot of big announcements, hopefully in the next month or two. And when I mean announcements, I will actually be dropping the announcements as well. So I really appreciate all your great support. I want to apologize to the chat that I can't get to everybody. Chat says, Shifty, I just subscribed to your channel. Really cool. I want to say what's up to Eric, our good friend up in the state of Washington. He's not a 49ers fan, but he's the most nicest Seahawks fan. And Smiley Dan from the Damon Bruce Show. Shifty, I am a new subscriber now. Keep it up. Thanks at John J Report. Appreciate it, buddy. But with that said, I'm John J from the 49ers Ultimate Report. This is Shifty. Check out his cool logos and all that stuff. But I'll be back tomorrow and this weekend doing some great shows. But with that, we're out. And I'm going to give Shifty the last word.
Let's go, Niners. Let's bring home number 6. Can't wait for Sunday night, guys. It's going to be awesome. And let's just, no matter what happens, let's root on our team. And hopefully we're coming away with a big win. That'd be awesome. And you guys, if you're not already, subscribe to this guy. He's the GOAT.
All right. We are out.